Everyone, my name is Stephanie Wang and I'm with my partners Evan Zhu, Emma Yang, and Joshua Zhang. And we are part of the program BranchOut. BranchOut is a nonprofit program with Veritas Education Leaders that was co-founded by Dr. Yushin Wu and Mr. Richard Wang in 2015. It grew from 20 student volunteers to over 150 student volunteers in 4 short summers. Our high school student mentors come from over 40 different schools across 4 states. We started out as a pure STEM mentoring program working with community centers, homeless shelters, and county summer credit recovery programs, and have expanded into a community outreach program to promote cross-cultural understanding by featuring community heroes, creating articles, and organizing career panels. As an award-winning community engagement program, we have received endorsement from U.S. Congress, including Senator Tim Kaine and former Congresswoman Barbara Comstock. Additionally, our Innovator program won the U.S. Congressional App Challenge Award last year.
As part of BranchOut's goals to promote civic engagement, community, and STEM education, we are so excited to be presenting this very informative career panel. The food industry will and always has been an important part of our modern society. One of our featured panelists who will be speaking for us tonight is Rachel Zemser. Ms. Rachel is a certified food scientist and a certified culinary scientist, acquiring experience and advanced degrees in both food science and culinary arts. Rachel has a Bachelor of Science in Food Science from the University of Massachusetts and a Master of Science degree in Food Microbiology from the University of Illinois, as well as a Culinary Arts degree from the New York Restaurant School and Art Institute. Rachel has been working in the food industry for 25 years in both technical and creative roles, and also teaches food science at San Francisco State University.
Our second speaker will be Aline Kazanjian. Did I pronounce that right, Miss Aline? Miss Aline is a manager representing Les Delices Bakery. Miss Aline went to Rockville High School. She attended High Point University, where she graduated from summa cum laude with a double major in economics and management. Miss Aline began her career in the accounting field and then transitioned to management. Aline has been the manager of Les Delices French Bakery since 2016, along with her management of daily operations and the company website. Ms. Aline is also the custom cake consultant and specializes in tailoring to the customer's experience.
Our third speaker who will be joining us this evening is Ms. Lydia Chang. Ms. Chang is a first-generation Chinese American. She joined the family business Peter Chang Restaurant Group in 2014 after graduating from King's College of London. As the only child growing up with grandma, food has always been associated with love and care. Also, inspired by the vision and passion of both working parents and chefs Peter and Lisa Chang, she is the Chief of Business Development in the company's recent work, such as Q by Peter Chang and Mama Chang. This summer, she's spearheading the latest original concept, Ni Hao, in the neighborhood of Canton, Baltimore.
We are thrilled to have you all with us this evening, and I'm sure you all will provide excellent information regarding the industry, and audience members will have the opportunity to ask questions for our panelists at the end. So for the first question, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your achievements, either personal or relating to your business and job? Ms. Zemser, do you feel like you can go first?
Yeah, sure. I can go first. So I've been a food scientist for a long time, and I started off my career working for various food companies like Unilever and Kraft Foods and Dannon Yogurt. But it was about 10, 12 years ago that I became a consultant. I'm an independent consultant. I have my own business, and I guess that's been a really big step for me, and kind of going out on my own and being a consultant. I don't work for any company anymore. Although I enjoyed all my experiences working for large companies, I like being my own boss. And probably one of my bigger accomplishments has been transitioning over from, in addition to being a consultant, I'm also a food writer. So I write about food science, and I've written for magazines, and I've written some books. I have my own book that I sell on my website, alacarteconnections.com. And that's probably one of my bigger accomplishments is writing that ebook that I sell on Amazon, and I sell it online. And I use that book as a way to get in new clients. People see the book and they read it, and then they come to me and say, hey, you're an expert, we want to hire you, or we want to talk for a while. So the book's been a really great tool in helping me with my consulting career.
I'll just introduce myself. Hi, everyone. I'm Lydia. I'm Lydia Chan. I work with my family, the Peter Chan Restaurant Group. For a lot of you that lives in the DMV area, you probably have heard about it, right? So I'm the Director of Business Development. I lead the company's marketing plan, building the brand and recognition of the Peter Chan Restaurant Group. And I create the original concepts such as Q by Peter Chan and Mama Chan, and with the upcoming contemporary concept Ni Hao in Baltimore. Working with a family is not easy, but as long as you stay focused on, what are the areas you are trying to bring in the inputs, it's all a synergy.
All right, and my name is Aline Kazanjian. Thank you guys so much for having me. One of my most recent accomplishments is actually a COVID accomplishment. We recently relaunched our website due to our old one was outdated. We'd been working on the new one for a while, and then COVID hit. So it was really important to be found and have our customers be able to find us with great information, pictures. So from the start to the end of that website, I led the development of that, and also online processing and ordering. So now customers are able to call or order internationally, place their orders, and then we'll deliver to their loved ones around here. So for me, that was a major accomplishment during this time. And Les Delices French Bakery has been there for 32 years. It's actually my family business too. So I've been managing for 5 years. And I know what you say about working with family business, Lydia. It's not always easy, but it is very rewarding. So especially during these times, there's no one better to have on your team than your family, because you care so much about your business and you want to make it through these difficult times.
Totally.
So going off of that, what is your favorite part of your job? This is for all three of you.
I think my favorite part of my job is, I love everything that I do, but it's always great when I'm working on a new project or formulating a new food product and it works out and I send it to the client and they give me positive feedback. They say, yes, we really love the sample. It's a wrap. And they confirm that they like it, and then we can kind of get ready to move on to, how we're going to produce it. So I just like, I like when things go well. When you're a food scientist, there's not always a right or wrong way to make something to eat. There's just, what is the customer like? So channeling that customer and figuring out how to make something that they're going to approve is something that's always a happy moment for me when I'm able to succeed in making that client happy.
I agree with Rachel. And on top of that, it's actually be surrounded by the passionate people that we're working with. This industry is actually so special and unique. And I'm super grateful and fortunate to be working with people that are much more experienced and knowledgeable than I am. But the one thing that we do have in common is the passion. And we know that we always have the support from each other.
For me, the most rewarding part of my job and my favorite part is helping my customers find the desserts or pastries that is perfect for their event. Usually I have people come in and say, okay, what's your bestseller? I want this or that. But it's really about gearing it towards what are your loved ones' preferences. If I love chocolate, or if my bestseller is chocolate, but you guys don't like it, that's not going to do anyone any good, you know? So for me, it's about tailoring it to what my customer is looking for. And sometimes that takes a lot of communication and questioning. I have to know the right questions to ask and kind of envision what they're looking for, because it's really important for you and your customer to be on the same page with expectations. And that's how you never want to let your customer down. So if you're explaining to the best of your ability, you're setting their expectation. And if you're on the right page with all the steps of communication, then you have a successful outcome. And for us, that's been really important. Being in business 32 years, communication is extremely important. So that's my role in the business, with taking my customers' orders, and especially with the custom cakes. Events are very special, and we want to make sure we deliver to the best of our ability.
What other challenges or hardships have you faced throughout your career, and how did you overcome?
Could you repeat that? I couldn't, you broke up a little bit.
What other challenges or hardships have you faced throughout your career, and how did you overcome them?
I think over in my early years, when I was in my 20s and just kind of starting out, there were a couple of times when I was laid off from jobs. You know, once I got fired because, you know, I wasn't behaving myself, and I had a big mouth. So, but then there were other jobs where I just got laid off because, you know, the company was consolidating or there were corporate changes. But, you know, I was very young when all these took place. And at the time, it was a big hardship. You know, I kept thinking, oh no, like I've been laid off or I've been fired and now my life is ruined. But it really wasn't. When you're young, if a job doesn't work out, whether it's your own fault or not your own fault, it may feel like a hardship at the time, but usually, especially if you're young and you have skills, like a skill set that is marketable, as I did because I had a food science degree, it's pretty easy to kind of, you know, learn from your mistakes and find another job, and maybe the next one's going to be a better fit and you're going to be more successful than you were in the job that didn't work out. And, you know, as far as layoffs go, that's always a hardship for people. It's hard to be laid off from a job, you know, when you have no control and it's not your fault. But ultimately, you know, again, if you're in a marketable industry and if you have the right skill set, you will get another job. And I've been laid off from large corporations, and everything worked out in the end. You know, I found another job pretty quickly, and I got past it.
I'll say to us, it's actually right now, you know, dealing with COVID, this pandemic, that's affecting so many people in so many ways. I'm sure, you know, we were actually facing the opening of Ni Hao back in March, you know, right when the pandemic was hitting us. And within a week of notice, you know, the governor had ordered a shutdown of restaurant industry. I had to personally tell my staff, who were eager and excited about the opening, you know, to tell them that we're not able to open and put them on furlough. That was a very challenging time. Again, you know, now everyone is back to work and we're gearing up again. But, you know, I'm sure Aline can share so much similar experiences. We were dealing with uncertainty as business owners, and talking to the staff, making sure they are assured and, you know, to look out for ways to protect them.
Absolutely. We experienced that a lot too, and it was really important to be adaptive during those times. In early March for us, that was the most difficult time. I think March 13th was the shutdown, and the parking lots were like ghost towns. No, there were no customers coming in. We were actually, for my business, we were issuing a lot of refunds for weddings and events that were canceled. So at the same time, you have to treat your customer how you would want to be treated. If it was my wedding that was being canceled, the last thing I want to worry about is my refund for my wedding cake that I can't even have my wedding, you know? So we did what we saw was best, which was offer anyone for any event their full refund, because that's how we would want to be treated in that situation. And that's difficult as a business, just offering refunds when you have no money coming in because no one is leaving their houses. So what we did was adjust to third-party platforms like DoorDash or Grubhub, and that was our way of getting our product out to our customer. We were fortunate enough at that time that they had promotions for the business end, but right now the rates are really high for businesses to even be on those third-party platforms. Even though we pay, as a consumer, we pay for convenience, the business is also paying a lot for that for your convenience too as a consumer. So it's really tough to manage those things. My challenges also include growing pains of a business. Lydia, I'm sure you've experienced this, but like how to change that older generation's mentality, how to improve efficiency. Those are the challenges that I face currently in my work.
So in a way, as a business owner or as a manager, you not only have to consider getting to the consumer, you also have to make sure you know what everyone else is feeling, the employees and the customers themselves, and getting feedback like that to further improve your business.
Absolutely. And it's also about safety, right? Right now we're dealing with extra measures of keeping your staff safe. For me, that's keeping my family safe and keeping my customers safe, especially when I see older customers. We're constantly disinfecting as you have to be. But even when I see older customers, I always want to take that extra step. I always change my gloves throughout any transaction, but I want to make sure specifically like that if I can reduce any harm that happens, that's my role too, as being in the front of the store and operating my business. We have to be responsible during these times and do the best that we can do to protect everyone that walks in. We also have social distancing measures of allowing limited people in the store. Sometimes more people come in, but you have to do your best to protect everyone.
Moving on to the next question, since you all work in the food industry in some way, how would you say the food industry changed in the past 5 years? And what do you predict will happen in the future, especially with this year's pandemic changing everything?
So one change that I've really noticed that's taking at least my part of the food industry by storm is just the going digital on how I interact with my clients, my ingredient suppliers, my co-packers, all the partners that I work with. Everybody's really been adapting quite well to going digital. You know, even, you know, I just actually had a 3-day conference that normally I travel to the location and I get a hotel and I participate fully in the expo and the seminars, but it had to be all online this year. And you know, it was a new process for everybody, but I thought they did a really good job at bringing a lot of the sessions online. They even had socials and breakout sessions that normally I would just be, you know, actually physically participating in, you know, having a glass of wine and meeting with colleagues, but everything was online. So I think that's going to be a big change. And I think that in the future, I'm going to see these digital experiences maybe in conjunction with the real live events. So, I mean, when I go to trade shows, sometimes I don't want to get up at 6 a.m. to get to a seminar by 7 a.m. Maybe I might just want to watch that 7 a.m. part of the seminar live, like as a live stream. And I think that in the past, like, you know, my trade shows and my connections would do that, but I think it's going to be even better now. And I like that it's going in that direction. Not that I don't want to not go to my events live, but it'll be nice to have a combination of live and digital ways to interact and get information. You know, I've also noticed over the last couple months, way more invitations from the companies that sell me ingredients have been inviting me to participate in webinars and seminars, and they've been offering up all kinds of sessions to educate me on their ingredients. And that's something that I had a little bit of before, but now like it's in full force, and I think it'll continue. And it's great when they're pre-recorded and I can go back and watch it. So just the sharing of information has been improved so much.
So in a way, this pandemic also allows certain jobs or businesses to advance further digitally, almost modernizing more, keeping up with the digital media.
Yeah, I definitely think so. I think the technology was there, but people weren't taking advantage of it. And now, because they have no choice, they're really putting more things together to help us learn. Which is great. I can go to the website of a company that sells flavors or ingredients and find their list of webinars that are pre-recorded and just go in there and learn a few things and get a contact that I can follow up with. So it's been great. I mean, that's the only plus that's come out of all this.
Well, I would say in my experience, I joined the family business in 2014, so it's been a little over 6 years. Looking at the long term, people have drawn into ethnic flavors, the kind of exotic tastes more than ever. People have become more interested in exploring various cuisine types. I would say, dealing with this pandemic, what doesn't change is that people, as we all are still having like 3 meals a day. So eating has always been essential, will always be essential. It's a source of nutrition, care, and love. And the way that people change, the way that people eat, obviously have changed. So instead of going out to eat and socialize with friends or family members, now it's more about sharing that experience at home and doing it 3 meals a day. People have been looking for ways to eat more sustainably. That's what I realized. Whether it's the packaging or family-sized meals that would last second or third day. This is people are adapting to the new ways of like how to spend time, really, how to spend time with your loved ones, and how to spend it efficiently.
Yeah, so it's been a really good experience to get closer to family members and try new things at home.
Yeah.
One of the trends I saw during this time period especially was companies, instead of selling the finished product, they were selling packages for you to make the product at home. So that could have been pizza kits. So that way they're selling you the experience of making that meal at home, which we all know there are home delivery services like HelloFresh and Blue Apron, but this was a little bit different. This was a little more personal. We didn't do anything like that, but I think any bakery could have done like a cake. We were adjusting to so many things in itself, let alone to have to design packaging and the most efficient way to do that. But like cake making kits for at home. Something else, another trend is I think online classes I think the trend is going to continue with online culinary classes. Like there's a lot of online courses you can take for pastry anyway. Of course, hands-on is the best way, but during these times, if people can enroll in things that they're interested in and develop their skills or a foundation, I think that's really valuable. So online education is another development, I think, of the food industry.
Yeah, like based off of that, you could definitely say that the pandemic is allowing for companies to reach out their consumers, like to develop ways to do that even further.
Absolutely.
To expand the creative mind. From what you said, the food industry seems very interesting. What would you say is most special about the food industry? In other words, what's something about the food industry that makes it different from other industries?
Well, I think that the food industry, everybody everybody in the world has an interest in food in some way or another, even if it's at the bare basic level of just eating to survive. But, everybody is interested in the food industry. So everyone has a thought or a point of view. I mean, not everybody is interested in other careers or other industries because it doesn't relate to them at all. So, there's a lot of industries that I have no interest in because I don't work in them and I don't utilize those services. I'm not, involved in any of that. So, but food, everybody's interested in food. And, I think that's what makes the food industry unique is everyone has some sort of a reason to be interested in it, whether they're foodies, or maybe they have to follow a certain diet for health purposes, or they have allergies so they can't eat certain foods, or they like to travel and take pictures of foods. But everybody's interested in food. So no matter where you go or who you talk to, you can always strike up a conversation if you tell them you're in the food industry, because they'll have some sort of a thought on the matter. So that's what makes the food industry, I think, unique, is it applies to everybody in the world in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
Food unites people in many different ways.
Yeah, I also know a lot of people and a lot of friends during this pandemic have really been furthering their baking skills, cooking all these different things because they have so much extra time.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I would say eating, it's an essential, like it makes us sort of alive. It's a source of nutrition, care, and love. And I'm sure both Rachel and Aline can say a lot of, just how much care and passion that, we, as each individual working in the industry, we put a lot of care and thoughts into the food. That way it supports the community that's surrounded by us. And it's always about giving back. For example, during this pandemic, we work with the Power of 10 initiative, which, we get sponsorship from like Capital One, that's creating the position in our kitchen. Right at the beginning in March, a lot of people decide to cut down the staff or close. But when we got the opportunity to partner up with the local charity organization, they are able to afford us to keep our kitchen staff on board, and we can feed the community, the people that needs the meals, because they were either furloughed or they don't have any reliable source of food. So like I said, this is an industry coming with so much care and love and input, and we always have each other's support.
I totally agree. And I believe the food industry is a place that everyone gathers. So we all gather around the dinner table to catch up with our family or have these conversations. And often a lot of conversations do happen around food. And through food, people find comfort, whether that's like a chewy chocolate chip cookie or their favorite, whatever kind of food, they're finding comfort in that. And especially during these times, it's really amazing to be able to deliver that to people. And also we're delivering experiences, right, through different cultures, whether it's a fusion kind of restaurant, whether it's a French bakery. People can't travel anywhere, but you can take them on an experience with the different flavors you combine and the combinations available. So that's something really unique to the food industry. I don't think you can say that about accounting and experiences. So
yeah, you can always learn something by having a conversation with someone about food.
absolutely.
So, what's the best piece of advice you have received?
That's a tricky question. I saw that question earlier when it was sent to me before this meeting, and I was having a hard time coming up with the best piece of advice. I've received so much good advice over the years, especially from, from senior people who'd been in the industry for a very long time. But, I think that, probably just really putting in 100% effort into everything you do, if it's important to you, really makes a difference, and it can be seen by, those who are the recipients of those efforts. And, if you don't put in 100%, they can feel that and they can sense that. But if the passion is there and you really put in the effort, then it's obvious. So, I always just try to do, if it's something that I'm interested in doing and I like doing, I try to put in 100% effort. That's probably one piece of good advice that I've received over the years. I'm sure I've received other good advice as well, but that's one that sticks out.
I will say, do you find that one thing that's meaningful to you? Stay focused and humble. I'm not sure if this is three advice or it's actually correlated. News are all over the internet, and we've been, dealing with an explosive of news. It could be a great piece of distraction and depression, but develop a new habit and spend time on this new interest and learn from, for example, learn a new language. That could be our new way of international travel. Study the history and watch a film about it. We're so used to taking things for granted all the time. For example, things like international travels, vacations, and going to concerts and events. All of these are considered luxury now. At least we won't be able to do so in a year. So stay humble, focus on the things that you can actually do at the moment, and spend the time wisely.
Great answers, I think. So I have three pieces of advice that were given to me. One, whatever, I'm in the storefront often, so whatever I'm doing, I want to always be conscious about a smile, because I am the customer's experience. So I have to deliver whatever message it is with a smile to my customer, whether it's also the way you're saying, no, I can't do this, but this is what I can do for you, or this is what we can make for you. So that's my first piece of advice. The second piece of advice is streamline your processes. Take a look at your habits every day and see if there's anything in there that's taking your time. It could be scrolling on social media and then you don't realize it, and then you wasted 2 hours and you could have done so much more stuff. So that 2 hours every day or half an hour every day builds a lot, and that's time that you could use, just like Lydia said, to learn a new skill or develop your habits. So we're all, I think, the sum of our day is a variety of a timeline of processes that we do throughout our day. So if we can improve those and be more efficient, that's really important. And my third piece of advice that was given to me, I struggle with perfectionism. That's really hard for me to give something out that's less than perfect, which was why it took so long for us to develop our website, because I never felt it was good enough or perfect. And then when COVID hit, it was like, okay, you can't be so obsessed over perfection. You have to have people find you, or else your business could shut down forever, all due to not having that information out there. So for me, it was launching before I was ready. And then I learned, okay, it can be a work in progress. You can have these small tweaks. It doesn't have to be 100% perfect from the beginning, because you're also going to learn things throughout the process to improve your site or improve your project. So it's a journey. It doesn't have to be the best thing you've ever done from the first step. You have a lot to learn too.
Yeah, thank you. That's some very good advice. Efficiency is something we could all improve on, and it would help us greatly throughout our days. So continuing on, the next two questions are specifically for Ms. Kazanjian. On the Les Delices website, it says that you buy your produce locally. How do you think supporting local farmers has impacted your products or business? If more people begin to buy local produce, how do you think it will affect the community?
So, a couple different ways. It's very important to support our food systems, and also farmers who are spending the time to make sure that their product, their fruits are organic. That's what we want our products to be made out of, whether it's apple tarts, fruit tarts, whatever it is. They are the ones who care most about the fruits they're growing. It's like their babies, you know? So they're the ones who care about the varieties they're growing. It's not just one variety on an orchard, it's many different ones. So it's really important for sustainable food business and agriculture to support the local economy and environment. Another part of that is you know exactly where your product is coming from. You know the quality of who's growing it. We actually have been using the same orchard for 32 years, and that's where I ended up getting engaged as well. So it's a really a big part of my family. We pick our own apples for the apple tarts and cherries and things like that. And it's also developing a relationship with the farmer, and you can also learn from them. These are experts in their field. They're out there every day. So those are really valuable resources.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aline. For the next question, it's directed to Miss Zhang. As an Asian American, how did your Chinese culture influence the food and the restaurant? And what initially inspired you to join the family business?
Well, let's say it's not an easy journey. I had always been a rebellious kid. You know, after graduating high school, I spent 4 years in London. That was my way of saying I want to get away as far as I can. And then I noticed that there is this route where my family is. And the heritage of being Chinese has always been in my blood. So after years of spending years apart, I noticed that what my family has done for me in so many ways, and how they supported me to do something that, you know, back then I truly believe, you know, spending the time in Europe could be a huge change in my life. You know, I could, it's possible that I would never come back to where family is. But after I graduated, I see how my family has grown from one location into multiple. And both parents are working so hard, but they are facing a lot of limitations. Not knowing the system, you know, the way of doing things. And that was the time I decided to step up. I'm the only kid. If I'm not helping them, then who would? But that's not to say that the way was paved for me. I actually had to gain an entry point. Repeating what they do is never on my agenda. It's about what are the new elements I could bring in from my area of expertise and from what I know that's trendy to stay relevant. So yeah, just you know, before I used to think, probably some of you are dealing with this too, is it's a dilemma, like, am I more Eastern, am I more Western, or how do I define myself? Again, you don't have to see it as a conflict. I am who I am because of my heritage of being Chinese. I am also who I am because of all the time I spent, you know, in the US, in Europe, and that's what's so special and unique about me. And embrace that.
Yeah, also, I'm an Asian American myself, and so are my other fellow interviewers. So, like, obviously, I think growing up in America, we do have Western influence as well as our roots are Eastern. So you know, growing up, I had to learn to embrace both sides because, you know, there are good things that both sides can offer you. Like, I love Chinese food, but I also really like Western clothing. It's just these different types of mixes that really make us who we are, and also really kind of represents America as a country, since all these cultures are coming in together.
Precisely.
So that was very valuable. Oh wait, Evan, do you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question for Ms. Zemser. Like, I'm sure some people have probably, most people have heard of the field, like food science, but like, what exactly is food science? Like, what is the process of developing food? Like, what's the marketing involved, and how do you connect with suppliers?
So food science is, food science is really the science involved in creating a food product. So, and there's degrees. You can get I have a degree in food science, and you can get master's degrees, and you can specialize in the food safety and chemistry and microbiology and there's a lot of different scientific components. But ultimately, it's the process of formulating a food product, just like one would make a recipe in their kitchen, but you have to take all the science into consideration. And so if I were to make like a gluten-free cookie, I want to make sure that it's going to be chewy and soft when the consumer buys it in a box on the shelf, even though maybe it's been in that box for several months already. So how do we achieve that nice texture, and how do I make sure it doesn't get moldy? And where do I get my ingredients from? How do I, I have to work with legitimate manufacturers who sell ingredients that have been properly traced and documented. I can't just go to a farmer's market and pick up, a pound of flour from someone that grinds it themselves. I have to get that flour from a manufacturer that has manufactured it in a facility where they document their procedures, to make sure that it's a clean, sound, safe ingredient that's going to be then put into that cookie, which is then going to go on the shelf and be consumed by many people. So that's really the science. The being a food scientist means I'm putting together a recipe, but I'm also making sure that using the knowledge I have that I've studied over the years and in school, using that knowledge to make sure that it's safe and sound and functional, and it's going to last on the shelf, and the color is going to last, and it's going to hold together, and the flavor and everything's going to stay intact. So all the technical aspects, because food products are developed to be on a supermarket shelf for long periods of time. Fresh food is a different story. When you go to a restaurant, they make your food, you eat it. But when you're manufacturing food, it's going to be things like cookies or food in a can, like canned beans or canned vegetables. And there's a lot of science that goes into making sure that it's cooked to the right temperature so no bacteria grows. There's a whole food safety aspect to canned goods. But fresh foods and bakeries and things like that, like, they don't have those same concerns, because usually the food is only designed to last a couple of days. But food science has really come into play when we're looking at long-term shelf stable food products.
So I have another question relating to that. All those really long ingredients on nutrition lists and nutrition facts, do food scientists, like those people, they actually know what these ingredients are?
Yeah, there are lots of ingredients that are listed on ingredient statements, but there's always I don't know what every single one is, but a lot of the times those ingredients that are unfamiliar to people, they might just be the scientific names for for something that exists naturally. Other times it might be a specific ingredient that is designed to hold that product together. So, for example, you might not know what guar gum is, but guar gum comes from trees and it's natural and it's extracted from trees and it's used in small quantities to thicken up a product. So if you were to buy like a protein shake from the supermarket, a dry blended protein shake, it might have some guar gum in there or xanthan gum, and they're natural ingredients. You just may not recognize them or know what they are, but we know what they are because we study them. So there's always a struggle to create labels that are more easily identifiable and understandable to the consumer. But we can only take it so far. We can't rename everything so people know what it is. Sometimes the consumer has to do a little bit of their own research, and they have to go online and Google, what is guar gum, what is xanthan gum. But just because you don't know what something is doesn't mean that it's bad or dangerous. A lot of a lot of people like to say, oh, I don't want to eat this. There's too many ingredients listed here. It must be bad. But that's not necessarily so. Sometimes those ingredients are there for very important reasons, and they need to be there if someone wants that product to be shelf stable.
So that was very valuable advice and helpful insight from Ms. Zemser, Ms. Kazanjian, and Ms. Zhang. At this point, if any members of the audience have any questions for our panelists, feel free to please type them into the chat box. If there are no current questions in the chat box right now, I'm just going to ask another general question towards you guys. What would you say is the hardest part of your job?
I can start, I guess. Yeah, because I'm a consultant and I work for myself, I think that the hardest part of my job is sometimes not having other people or a lot of other people to bounce ideas off of. Sometimes it's just me and my assistant and maybe one or two other people, but that's probably one of the harder parts of my job is you know, I have a small group that I work with. In the past, I've worked for large food companies and it was nice to have lots of people to interact with. But now my group is small, especially with COVID. I have minimal people in the lab working with me. So it gets a little bit lonely and I definitely can't get as much feedback as I like to get.
Well, to me, it's managing time efficiently because we have various locations. You know, they're all scattered in different areas. For example, you know, I've been going back and forth to Baltimore quite a lot. And not to say that, you know, dealing with all the changes that's happening at the current locations, you know, getting into phase 2, phase 3, and implementing all the safety protocols. It's only, you know, I'm only this one person and I only have 24 hours a day, although I want to work all the time, but getting that balance, the work-life balance is also important. So it's really about prioritizing how to manage the time efficiently.
I'd say that's my greatest struggle too, work-life balance, because we're open Saturdays too. So that's 6 days a week. You're always there. Even if you have your opening hours, you know, you're there to work earlier than that to prepare. You're there after that, cleaning up, getting ready for the next day. So it's difficult to find that balance too, especially for me in a small business and a small family business where if you're not the one doing that task, you know it's falling on someone else in your family or on your team. So you want to take more onto your load. And then another challenge for me is becoming just more efficient in general. I want to update our processes where a lot of things, just like you said, you didn't want to, Lydia said, she didn't want to do things that have been done that way just because they've been done that way for a long time. Well, then it's up to us to find out how do we improve these processes and maybe get some of our time back by having maybe new point of sale machines or how we take a customer's order or just improving everything.
So we got a chat box question. What advice do you have for people who want to start their own restaurant or bakery? This is probably directed towards Ms. Kazanjian and Ms. Chang.
I would say it sounds all interesting and exciting. There's a lot of dirty work in it. It's really, you know, prepare yourself mentally for whatever that's about to come. As long as you truly believe in what you do, there are going to be, you know, obstacles and challenges as we all do, you know, deal with anything in life. Don't give up. You know, this is something that you're really passionate and so really believing. You know, keep that belief and keep that passion because all the other positivity and energy will be attracted by you, and you have to give it time and be patient.
I agree, but I'd also like to add it's really important to be, like you said, passionate, because if you don't love it, bakery business or restaurant business is a lot of hard work, and you have to love it to be able to get up every day really early, to constantly be baking and be on your feet. Those are requirements of working in a restaurant and working in a bakery. We're on our feet all day. So you have to be able to have that energy to keep going throughout the day. And also, if you're interested in doing that, working in a restaurant or starting your own restaurant or business or bakery, you should get an internship. Maybe right now is a little bit difficult with people hiring paid internships or allowing extra people into their kitchens due to COVID, but I think that's a really great way to gain experience. And also you should look at the style of someone's work and then see if that's someone you want to learn from. If you love like how their pastries look or how their food tastes, or you want to learn in that aspect, those are really great ways to start and get some experience.
Okay, so another chat box question was, what is the greatest risk you had to take and what pushed you to go through with it? Ms. Zemser, do you want to answer that?
Sure. I guess some people might see moving from having a full-time industry job to becoming a consultant as a risk, because you're giving up a safe, secure income for something that's a little more unpredictable. I guess I sort of fell into it so slowly that it didn't really feel risky, but a lot of people who heard my story felt like it was a big risk, like, oh, how could you give up a stable full-time job? But I think at the time when I did it, it didn't feel super risky to me because I didn't have any kids. I have a son now. I'd probably be a little more, cautious about making big moves like that. But I think that for some people, that's a pretty big risky thing to go from working for a big corporate company with all the benefits to having to do things yourself. But I really was just kind of motivated to try to be on my own and see how that would work out. And it did work out pretty well. So.
It's really the different perspectives. When I'll make this short, any risk comes also with opportunities. So it's about what you see. If you are letting yourself into a in a dark hole, then you will always see this as a tragedy. But on the other hand, if you see this as a great opportunity to change, for example, just like Rachel, she was able to gain the freedom to work for herself, to be her own boss and start her own business. That to her probably has much more meaning than working for a company. And that's probably why she chose to do so.
That's very good advice. So, all right, we hope you have gotten some food for thought. That would be all the time we have tonight for questions. On behalf of the whole BranchOut career panel team, we hope that everybody has enjoyed the panel this evening and learned a great deal about successful individuals in the food industry. We hope that everybody got a chance to experience the essence of the field, had their questions answered, and maybe even be inspired to pursue or learn more about this industry. I mean, everyone likes food. The food industry has been a vital part of our daily lives and will continue to be for generations to come. We're also extremely appreciative of the panelists, Ms. Aline Kazanjian, Rachel Zemser, and Lydia, Zhang, for their time in giving us some great insight into this field. We're also very appreciative of our audience members for making this panel so great and asking some wonderful questions. To learn more about BranchOut and our future panels, you can check us out at www.velbranchout.org or like us on Facebook at Veritas Education Leaders. We look forward to seeing you at our next event.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.